The general election and the political landscape of the UK has been significantly shaped in the last few years by figures like, insignificant figures, it seems, like Nadine Dorries. And however much you dismiss her, she was central. Boris Johnson, Jacob Rees-Mogg, these incredibly charismatic and televisual characters who we mock and can caricature and make fun of, but they have been central in the destruction of the Conservative Party and the destruction of our political landscape, and their impact on the Conservative Party, their impact on our lives, and the outlook for the Conservative Party and the outlook for our political future is significant, and it comes down to these people. Nadine Dorries, this staunch supporter of Boris, a Boris fangirl, prominent voice in the Conservative Party for no reason. She's been a polarising figure. On the one hand, her unwavering support for Brexit and Boris, her confrontational style, her apparent vacuity, and yet at the same time her background as an author of cheap fiction, very readable fiction, trash, but the history of today is written in the rubbish bins that we empty out tomorrow. We should not dismiss the ephemeral simply because it seems trite. In many cases it's the only thing that will survive us. And I would have expected significantly more energy and commitment to the ministry that she ran, the Digital Culture, Media and Sports Ministry. When she was Culture Secretary, she did almost nothing except for attack the BBC and the arts, undermining the UK's cultural institutions. Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, was another key figure whose period in office was marked by bullying, by planning the Rwanda deportation scheme, by pandering to the popular right-wing base. But the criticism she drew from human rights groups, from the broader public, her tough rhetoric, her policies, have contributed to the perception that the Conservative Party was increasingly extreme and out of touch. Rees-Mogg, another figure to the right of the party, or somebody who moved from the centre to the right, a former leader of the House of Commons with an entertaining turn of phrase, who liked to be considered clever, and pivotal in shaping the Eurosceptic stance. But again, out of touch, with limited appeal to ordinary voters. And the influence of these figures and others, Kwasi Kwarteng's prodigious package, and Kwasi again, one of the brightest, one of the most erudite, one of the most beautiful writers in the current Conservative Party, was an absolute pillock in office. And it led to this fragmented, contentious political environment managed by twits like Nadine Dorries and like Liz Truss and James Cleverly. Oh, the names just roll off the tongue, really. The party will face significant challenges in repairing itself, if it can, rebuilding, regaining public trust, if it can, addressing internal divisions. I think it's almost impossible. And the outlook in future elections is bleak. Growing dissatisfaction, which will be expressed today by the electorate in the polling booths, concerns over issues are certainly there. The cost of living, healthcare, economic stability. But I think fundamentally it's concerns about the personalities that rode roughshod over our lives. These contented, arrogant, greedy, abusive personalities that conspired to distort parliamentary practice to their own advantage, in for example, the Patterson case. And a more united opposition is absolutely essential to a good to good government in Britain. And we lost that during the Corbyn years, and I think we're going to go into the Starmer years without a functioning, without a believable opposition from the Conservative Party. And that worries me. These people who have been influential in shaping the Conservative Party have also been directly influential in destroying it. I made a song a while ago about my attempts to draw to draw the digital culture, media and sport into a debate about the future of reality TV. And despite writing many times, I got no response. I got no answer. And I was sent in a circular fashion to Ofcom, who said that they weren't responsible, and back to the DCMS, who said that they weren't responsible. And it becomes fantastic that over the space of 5 years one can get absolutely nowhere. And my local MP, I appealed a number of times for a meeting in one of his surgeries, and I never got one. I did have a Zoom conversation with him once during COVID, and that was it. And I find that rude and frankly offensive, though I've got plenty of letters from him, all effectively doing nothing, all effectively underscoring the inanity of the bureaucracy that churns out paperwork and upholds the status quo. I think we're in a problem. Let's have a look at the song. I hope that was clear.
So, Tim, do we have the weather now, or have you got some special news?
I've just had a message from Boris today, who's hoping he can massage the problems away. He's schmoozing to excuse the 6 months mess of waiting for a letter from the DCMS.
DCMS, is that an acronym or an ailment?
Let's wallow in the hollow that is Nadine's library case, and the letter that she never wrote, will quote it a disgrace. Hooray for Doris, make hay for Boris. It's a ruddy mystery, what a ruddy farce. We're making major history to be governed by an It's Nadine D, and she's begging to take the cherry from Cash and Carrie's fanciful cake. She's back to business, to back the BBC, and back to backing Boris on every TV. Let's wallow in the hollow that is Nadine's library shelf. Get pretty to harangue us all on COVID law and health. Hooray for Doris, make hay with Boris. It's a blooming mystery and the gospel truth. We voted for this change in history in the polling booth. It's a stonking web our politics have woven, a bonking fest for Boris Hancock and Gove, and rob the man who lounges late for tea relaxes on Crete and slaps on factor 3. Let's wallow in the hollow that is Rishi's private pool, and trust, we've got to trust, is nobody's fool. It's Rostov on Don, that phenomenon. It's a sleazy mystery that Edwina once saw. We're making major history like never before, oh John. And Putin's end to history may end this encore.
Now that the media has left, what would you like to start with?
So today we've got an opportunity to vote. Remember, you're voting for your own parliamentary MP, for your own constituency MP. You're not really voting for the party or for one party or for another party. You're voting for somebody who is going to represent you in Parliament.